Welcome! This is my very first episode of the Solve for Mom podcast. I'm your host and the creator of this show, Anoki Kapasi, and we're going to start the show with a real bang. I'm going straight to the core issue that many of us are dealing with. It might even be the reason why this show popped up in your search results or recommendations. How many of you moms out there specifically chose to step back from work, right around the time that you started to have a family? And even if you didn't, for all of us moms, raising our kids and connecting with our family, that's a pretty high priority, if not your top priority. And us putting our family first, it's voluntary, right? We wanted this. But then why do we sometimes feel like our cup is empty? Well, I'm here to tell you not to spend time feeling guilty about this. There is a very important reason that this is happening to us moms. Really, you are not alone in this. So in this episode, I'm going to help you understand why you feel this way and then share my 3-pronged framework to resolving this inner discontentment. All right, let's do it. Welcome to the Solve for Mom podcast. Here, you'll learn to customize your life to fit your passions. Hi, I'm Anoki Kapasi. I'm a mom, wife, and PhD-trained biomedical researcher. After a decade of designing a values-based life, I'm ready to show you how you can too. I'll help you take back control of your purpose and passions, guide you to strategically pivot, set goals, build knowledge and skills for your project, and practice critical thinking. If you're ready to go questing for your passions, level up your learning, and confidently pursue projects while still being the awesome mama that you are, you're in the right place. In this complex equation we call life, it's time to sharpen our pencils and our minds and solve for mom. A few years ago, I was experiencing a potpourri of conflicting feelings. I was constantly busy, but then I still felt really aimless. I had so much to do all of the time. I was playing catch up all the time, and I was aimlessly doing task after task and engaging in activity after activity, but really to what end? I know you can relate to this too. It's not a fun place to be, right? It's confusing and unsatisfying. I was constantly busy, but then I felt really restless too. What I wanted was to play with my kids and make them laugh and cuddle up with my husband and to be mentally challenged like I am when I'm engaged in my professional work or with a large group of adults having a great conversation. I also, on the other hand, wanted some time to myself so I could do the things that I was interested in without feeling guilty that I was being pulled away from my family. And then in the background of all of this, like at a very fundamental level, I also just needed to have a clean house. But here's the crazy thing. I was actually doing all of that. So what was it? Was I just not appreciating the beautiful gift that I had of being at home with my family? I did a lot of reflection, and what I realized was I was just going through the motions and I wasn't investing myself in any of the activities. This is what I was doing. I would play with my kids and then yell at them for making the house so messy. Or I'd be cleaning the house and then I would be grumbling to myself the entire time at how uninteresting this work was, or that as a highly trained professional, I should be spending my time getting paid for my work. And then when I was doing my professional work and getting paid, I would sit there feeling guilty for not being with my family and that I was paying other people to care for my kids or to clean my house. You get the idea. See, I just wasn't adding purpose to the choices I was making. So when you find yourself busy a lot, but you're still really unfulfilled in some way, that's a sign that you need to reflect on adding some purpose back into your life. But what I'm not saying is that your life as it is right now doesn't have meaning or purpose. I'm saying that it does, but you need to remind yourself where you derive that purpose from. And I've said purpose a lot, so what do I mean by that? I just mean the why behind all of your actions. It's your North Star, right? So you want to focus on that main thing that drives how you spend your time and who you spend it with and where you're going to go. And purpose factors in to all of this decision making. So in these restless moments in your life, start by realigning with your purpose. especially if you're a stay-at-home mom. Because no one said that being more present in your home, maybe pausing your career, means that you can't have a life full of adventure and living out dreams or finding opportunities. What fills your cup and how you define success will be different for each of us. Values and long-term goals are also an important part of identifying purpose, and those are things that we're going to work on in future episodes. But as I said at the top of the show, don't beat yourself up. It's kind of like if you were walking and you start to feel a blister forming on your foot. Okay, this is going to be a really weird example. I'm sure you can already tell. The blister is not the worst thing, and it's totally manageable. And what is it? The blister is just a sign that, you need to look at your shoes or your socks, and maybe you need new ones. It's not your fault. Maybe your needs changed. You walk a lot now. Or maybe your feet are growing. Okay, that can happen to adults too. I'm sure many of you moms out there know what I'm talking about, but after pregnancy, my feet size really did change. Okay, let's get back to the topic. Basically, when you feel a lack of passion or spark and you have a yearning for some type of freedom from your sort of everyday routine, take that as your foot blister. But instead of looking at your foot or your shoes, it's a mental sign that you need to examine your purpose, right? Have your needs changed? Maybe you're in a new season of life, or you have new interests. What is the reason that you get up each morning? Are your actions still driven by your purpose? So it's not your fault, but like a foot blister, unaddressed, it can turn into a bigger problem. So now that we know the root cause of this discontentment, let's move on to see what we can do about it. Each choice you make reveals something about your values, your passions, your goals. So, for example, if you wake up early every morning, that could be because you value fitness, or you have a goal to compete in a race, or you're very passionate about running or biking. Your purpose is derived from these values, passions, and goals. To find purpose, I like to use what I call the timeline framework. It might actually be helpful at this point if you write this down, because there's a lot of questions to think about, or you could maybe even save the episode and play it back. The first step is to look into the past. What values do I believe in? What am I proud of? What has been given to me that I value? What is a problem that I faced that I'd now like to solve? Oh, here's a fun one. What did I do as a child that I looked forward to doing? As an example, when I was a child, I really enjoyed playing games. My go-to was puzzles, board games, treasure hunts, and I still enjoy all of that stuff. And that's why it's not a surprise that that drives a lot of how I connect with my kids. I play with them constantly, and I love doing puzzles and things like that with them. It's even informed our homeschool, because one of the ways that I bring joy into our homeschool is doing a version of game schooling. The next step is to think about the present. What am I doing in my life right now that brings me joy or that I am good at? And that question is not just related to like a job description. These are things maybe even overlooked that when you take the time, you can say, oh, I am actually really good at this. What are the things that I develop skills in or use a lot right now? What's important to me and what do I care about? And something can be meaningful to you without it necessarily being something that you're good at. So that's why they're separate questions. What do I do that adds uniqueness or value to my life? Okay, here's another example. I really like picture albums. And I'm not a great photographer, but I really like curating pictures. I did that as a kid. I used to manage all the photo albums for my family. Now, I've actually turned it into this project where we have a wall that's sort of this evolving picture gallery. And every year we decide which couple pictures we're going to add to the wall. And then the last step is to look into the future. If you could try something new, what would it be? And it really does require you to be vulnerable. Maybe you're super intrigued by something, but you could also fail at it miserably, and that can be really scary. But I don't want you to worry about that right now. I want you to be free in your thinking, because these are spaces that you can still grow into. And That's why I'm here. I'm here to help, and every week I can motivate you and get you doing things that you're passionate about. I want to propel you into this passion work without letting you drop any balls on the things that you need to do for your family. I've done it time and again for myself and others in my orbit, and the honest truth is, you really don't know until you've tried. Do you like it? Are you good at it? These can't be answered until you try. And as far as this episode is concerned, this is just a thought experiment. Think of it as an exercise in growth mindset. To be open to new things, new ideas, new experiences. To recap, when you feel that your life is out of alignment, try using this timeline framework. Examine your passions not just as a snapshot from present day, but also look retrospectively and prospectively. And we actually do this in epidemiology all the time. We conduct studies that look at data that was collected in the past, or a cross-section of data from a point in time, or even prospectively. And even though the prospective studies can be harder because they take longer and they can cost more, they often end up being able to assess outcomes better than the other types of studies. It's really great to get this holistic 360-degree picture of any given question. It's kind of like a scientific review. So I guess my scientific mind is asking you to conduct your own review on the purpose that powers your life. Okay, folks, it's time to wrap up our first episode. I know we're still trying to get to know each other, but you're still here, and I thank you so much for tuning in. If there is anything that you heard that you want to discuss or know more about, please email me at hello@solveformom.com. And don't forget to check out the show notes to make sure that you didn't miss anything. I hope today's episode will help you pursue your next passion project. If you enjoy this show, please subscribe and tell other ambitious mamas about it. Who knows? You might even make a new friend by sharing a tip. It's all free. By the way, it would be amazing to hear what you think about the show when you leave a review in Apple Podcasts. After all, my passion is to make this a great experience for you. Thank you for making my show a part of your day. I hope you join me next week for another episode of the Solve for Mom podcast with Anoki Kapasi.